first recording of the day always ends up the one with the dingers and the zingers. So there you go. So Megan, first off, I will let you know I appreciate you joining in on this. I'll give you a prep that my podcast is not like any other podcast. I have no scripts. I have no agenda. We are literally just going to shoot the shit and talk about your story.
Does it matter? Yeah. Like a shitty bedroom? Does this matter?
Dude, I'm in my basement on a couch. You're good.
All right, cool.
So you're good. Don't worry.
I'm pretty open book, but this feels perfectly fitting. You're entirely bonkers, but I'll tell you a secret. All the best people are. Yes.
Well, this is going to be awesome. So here we'll do is we'll jump right into it. It is conversational. There is nothing prepped. There's no agendas. There's no.
Hi, my name's Megan Riggs. I'm the founder and CEO of Crunchy Hydration. I'm sipping on the Lime Elevate right now. It is a functional sparkling water with a ton of functional benefits, herbs for balanced-minded bodies. So our mission is to improve mental and physical health through mindful hydration. So it's been a crazy morning running around, doing a bunch of stuff. And even as I'm drinking this, I'm like, all right, take a moment, slow down. Be grateful that you have clean water, and yeah, that's Crunchy.
That's perfect. Well, I'm going to kick it off. Just go right to it. I need to know because I have a very similar story as well. Of my future is only business in a backpack. So I want you to take me to Thailand and put me in that backpack, and let's go.
All right. So you want the shortened long version? Okay.
No, I want the long. We got 60 minutes. I want the long. I want to know all the details of how, because I love what you have. I love the product you have. I love what your mission is, and I want to get back to that origin story of when you created this and when that light bulb happened. And assuming it's Thailand, I'm assuming it started in Thailand.
Yeah, it did. So born and raised, I'm dialing in from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Went to University of Virginia. Moved out to Los Angeles, spearheading West Coast operations for a global training company. Seemingly like, yeah, you're doing great. You're making a lot of money. You're running the West Coast. I worked with a ton of awesome clients in the nonprofit space, like Compassion International, Conservation International, and helped them deploy their global training programs. And a lot of their field offices were in Thailand. I wanted to learn the language. I also love Thai food, and I could eat soup every day. But, started to develop really bad anxiety and depression. I was like, why am I sleeping 16 hours a day? And also I want to die. So classic millennial. I was like, let me give away everything I own, bought a one-way ticket to Thailand, became a minimalist and just backpacked around. There was a cyclone and I ended up in this random village an hour from Phuket called Koh Lak. And it was great. It was so simple. I had nothing. And I was so happy. And it takes, maybe it takes extreme measures for some of us crazy people, but moving there and, having that simplicity, going to this juice shop every day, getting cold pressed juices and smoothies. I called my sister and I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. So I moved back to this area, opened up Crunchy Carrot, which was my first beverage business, cold pressed juices. My little brother came up with the name because I had no money at the time, a shitty juicer, and it literally was Crunchy. So my first one was like carrots, ginger, turmeric. I smashed up some almonds, put that in there. But then it evolved. It became, everyone was like, I want to be part of this Crunchy movement. And when you think Crunchy, sorry, that's my pup in the background. You think granola, hippie, etc. But it also became a movement and community for us of living with intention and mindfulness. And through the juice business, I was having these conversations every day still about the herbs that I was taking for anxiety and depression. And so realizing that the juice business wasn't scalable and that there was such a need for those functional aspects, I mad scientist my way around, like using the herbs, because L-theanine is what I was taking for anxiety, ashwagandha, rhodiola. So I created a calming one and an energizing one, and it just took off. So that was 2019, kind of messed around with it, officially launched 2020. And then I went full time end of 2022, went through a local Accelerate program, and raised friends and family capital, hired my first official non-founder in 2023. And here we are. We just got a call yesterday that we got a planogram for Wegmans. So it is the journey and the path that I am supposed to be on.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Wegmans is definitely a great step in a direction for that brand that you have there. And I think that I also love I also love you calling it crunchy hydration, because crunchy is something that I think of myself as that, as well as a lot of other people that I relate myself to. But I think sometimes today, like, everybody's like, oh, don't label, but I'm like, that's what we always called ourselves anyway. And it was a joke. It was like, and it was something like, but it was also back in the time when we could joke around with each other a little bit more, I feel like. So
Yeah. Nowadays, I'm like, we can say whatever on this podcast. Are you sure?
I encourage people to cancel me. So walk me through when you're in Thailand and you come up with this idea. How old are you in that moment when that idea hit you?
Gosh, I'm really bad at age. Like I've always said, I'm like a 82-year-old old Chinese herbal medicine man. So I literally forget what year it is and how old I am, but I think I was 26 maybe.
Nice. That's awesome. Walk me through when you're 20, and I'm going to tell you this, I'm not putting you on the spot, because I was in the same thing where I started this business in college. And so I empathize with you in this moment, and tell me what it was like to convince yourself that you weren't some arrogant person that thought you could conquer the world, and how you actually got to the place where the arrogance and confidence became the real thing. And then the execution actually lined up. Because there's always that moment when you're like, I'm doing something that's different. Automatically you're crazy. You're batshit crazy. So how did you balance that and keep your sanity and then pursue it with that determination at that age?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I've kept my sanity, but I would say it obviously takes a special breed of human to be an entrepreneur. And I've always been like, just like that. Even in my first company that I worked for, where I, worked starting in Virginia Beach, then I wrote a proposal for them to relocate me to LA and why this would be good for the company. Like I've just never fit into a box. I was like, I don't understand the 9 to 5. I'm going to work more some days and get more done. And, I would just be sitting there like, well, I did all my work. Why are we just sitting here like little robots? So I've always kind of pushed to the envelope in that regards and wanted more, whether it was my company or another company. I just go all in. So that helped, that was how my personality was. And then, it's very humbling owning a business, I would say, because especially starting a business during COVID, where you face every challenge you could ever imagine, from a pandemic and not having cans to supply chain issues to people, wanting to spend money, then not spending money. And, anyways, I would say it's been very humbling, to the point now where I kind of have to work myself up to be like, this is the path you're supposed to be on, because, some days you just feel defeated, and then you get an awesome call that you got a planogram for Wegmans. But yeah, I mean, every day as an entrepreneur is like this roller coaster. I saw this thing on LinkedIn that was describing the journey of an entrepreneur, and it's like, I'm amazing, I'm a fucking rock star, and then it's like, nobody likes my product, I'm gonna fail and lose investors' money, and then it's like, I'm on top of the world.
We all ride that roller coaster daily. I think there's one that I saw the other day that was good. It was a meme of like an entrepreneur, and it was like, but it looked like the evolution of man. And it was just how the entrepreneur is like going in these waves of excitement, and then at the end, just in the fetal position.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where I want to talk a little bit about too, like walk me into in Thailand with the crunchy carrot. Like I think that and talk to me about how you utilized how starting something there and how you utilize that culture into your business model.
Yeah, so there's more of an evolution. Sometimes, you just forget other parts of the story. So when I was in Thailand, I called my sister and was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I thought that I was going to actually open up the juice shop in Thailand. And then I was taking a trip traveling to Cambodia. Fast forward, I got like robbed, and I don't know, like I didn't really get knifed, but this guy drove past me on a moped and sliced off my purse and took all my belongings. And it was traumatizing as a young, tall, blonde female. And I was like, this is scary. I miss my family. Like maybe I'm, supposed to go back to Virginia and start it. So came back here and actually, again, love soup. So with the juices, I was like, how can I incorporate all of the pulp and make it more sustainable? And so I also had, every single day I would wake up and it was like a soup kitchen. Like I would make a ton of soup to go with the juices, and coconut coconut lentil soup inspired from the taste of Thailand. So a lot of what I was cooking and making were using those flavors and the simplicity, like what do I have on hand? What can I get locally? And so often we find ourselves adding stress to our plate. And I just have to constantly remember the simplicity of being in Thailand and like how it was like, you got served what they had. You got served what we could find, what we could make, what we could grow. And so that's just a good reminder. I think of it all the time. I have a little tattoo on my side of, I got a bamboo tattoo of Nemo and it says big nothing on it in Thai. So goes to the ego, big nothing.
I love that. That's awesome. That is awesome. I think that's something that, I see a lot of different interviews where people are starting to bring to light of it, but I talk frequently about, growing up, and I graduated high school in 2003. All right. So I graduated college in 2008. And right when literally I graduated and nobody was hiring anybody. And that's kind of what forced me into this. So it was kind of like the economic shift of needing to build a safety net. And I think that, what you did and what you're doing right now is just it's so unique, and I think that it's really it's hard to be unique in the beverage space. And I think that what you're trying to do is really important, and I think the mission you have is really key. So kind of talk a little bit about your product today as it exists and how you differentiate yourself. So when somebody walks into a Wegmans, and they see all those other great quality products that are just as quality as yours, how do you want somebody to think of you when they grab your product?
It's a great question. So biggest differentiator and kind of our hero in the beverage space is that we are the first functional beverage with a variety of benefits. So whether you need energy or calm, sleep, gut health, we have all of those SKUs and we don't add anything. So no sugar, no calories, no stevia, monk fruit, erythritol, allulose, XYZ. Where, I had an FDA lawyer at a Whole Foods demo when I was doing a tasting, and she was like, this is the cleanest label I've ever seen. You just don't see that anymore because people are so used to different things being added. And, if you look at our label, it's like filtered carbonated water, L-theanine, organic holy basil, green tea, Himalayan salt, full spectrum hemp extract. Like, it's simple.
That's exactly it. Is too many times, and I'm one that is as well in the beverage space as a marketer. I marketed products, but not paying attention to the fact that like, oh, no sugar, but we're just throwing all this other shit in here. And that's something that I would say it's been a year and a half or so that I've come to like a real revelation of like what it is that we're putting out into the world is what it is. And that's after a reflection of selling alcohol aggressively for 20 years and stuff like that, and realizing, whatever that does. So what we can do is, I like your product that it's not just another energy water. All right. Your product's also not just a probiotic. And I think that what's happening today is a lot of things are siloed into those categories. And you just went in and you're like, you know what? I'm going to do them all. And I think that I just want to say back to that, like, that's just, I love that. I love that was your model. It was just like, I'm not going to sit in this shelf, this shelf, this shelf. And then how does that work to your advantage right now? Or does that work to your detriment to like when they're placing you and trying to figure out like where to put you and stuff like, cause I know like, in the beer space or let's say alcohol space, it's like rum goes here, whiskey goes here, same with functional beverages and stuff. So kind of where do you get placed and where do you want to be when people put you on the shelf?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's both a strength and a weakness. If you look at any classically successful functional beverage, you have the energy drink category, you have the probiotics, Olipop and Poppy have done really well. Celsius has done well in the energy category, but Crunchy is a little bit confusing and it's really on the education piece. So I created it because I wanted to sometimes have a little caffeine, but then I want to have a bliss at night. And, as much as people have said, you need to simplify or just have one, you need to have the calm with a bunch of different flavors. And I'm like, well, the market will tell. And as we expand, maybe we do need to shift and not have 6 SKUs or 7 SKUs of different functions. But I would say right now it has truly worked to our benefit. And we've been able to get cool placements without any slotting fees in Whole Foods, Kroger, Wegmans, Giant. So it's been good. But it definitely keeps me up at night, Nate. It keeps me up at night. I'm like, should I just have a calming one? Like, have I messed up? So it originally started. So I don't know if you can see this logo. So this is elements of all the chakras into our crunchy logo. So each crunchy is for a different energy center. So the stabilize has organic dandelion, organic licorice. It's for your root chakra. It's the color red. And then you move up. So each one, like this is for your heart chakra. That's why it has the herbs that are in it. So it's a lot. And we don't put that on the can. It's kind of like, if you know, you know. But there's a lot of intention behind it and a lot of, purpose and mission. But I would say it's both good and bad.
No, that's exactly it. And there's no great quality to anything without also being a detriment. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. Because in order for something to be great, it also has to be horrible, and that's the same with human beings. So everything can't be great. When you go through and walking through prior to starting this, you were in the online community space and things like that, working in that. What was that world like? Because right now we see that as like a blowing up industry as well. Like kind of you're touching on two different things that are really, really accelerating these days, and kind of talk about what life was like in there. And did any of that transfer to your business model with Crunchy?
Yeah, I would say, taking that job right out of college was incredible because I was able to kind of craft my own path and go to a bunch of different trade shows. And it was a small company. So I was able to, I took over and was like, okay, I'm going to redo all of our trade show marketing setup. And then, okay, I'm going to work on the West Coast. And so I learned that scrappy mentality of, even though this is, not my company, I can still add a lot of value and, learned that, hey, I can just get on LinkedIn and message people. And that's how I landed Intel as a client. I was just like, hey, I'm Megan. I work for, this company. Would you want to hear my pitch? And that is important now because you have to put yourself out there. Like trying to get into grocery stores, you have to send 72 emails and follow up and reach out to people on LinkedIn. I was like, watch this thing on Earth Fair. What's his name? Mitch. And I was like, oh, he Instagram. Like I need to create a funny Instagram message and send it to him. And, you just get creative and you give up caring. It's like, you let go of that ego. Like we're going to email you 72 times. Do you want to try Crunchy?
I think I'm so glad you used the word 72 because I'm so sick of everybody saying it's 12 touch points to make a sale. That's such bullshit. There's no formula. It depends on what's going on that day. Who got in a fight with their wife? Who got in a fight with their boyfriend? Like who had a bad breakfast in the drive-through? Like it's like there's so many variables, and anybody that shares these memes of it takes 12 touches to sell something. It takes 72 to 100, and that's without getting an FTC violation for spamming somebody. That's without getting an FTC violation for a spam phone call or a spam email or a spam message. I can tell you lots of stories about that, and that's the most amazing thing. Like even an email, like you said, people do not understand how overly offended people are by receiving an email inquiring to have a meeting. And then we'll just get, it would just ruin their day that you interrupted their inbox. And I love like when those messages come back, and I've been called names. I've been called racial names that I don't even know, like racial names that don't even pertain to me over emails where somebody didn't even do the homework to realize what it was. At the same time, we tell these stories where it's like, hey, I got my own product. I carved my own path, but you don't tell about the 99% of the times you're being punched in the chin. And I always tell people, they're like, are you an entrepreneur? I'm like, I like to think myself as a defensive boxer. Like, that's really what I am. Like, just taking punches all day long. From the second I wake up at 5:30 till the second I fall asleep at midnight, it is just punches. And whether it's at home, outside, or wherever else, it's like, you have to keep everything separated. And I'm impressed and I'm excited to follow your journey because you're on the front end of it, but you have a very balanced focus on it. You're not in an idealistic way. You're not overly naive about anything. You're taking the wins when they exist. And you're not like, you didn't just start off like how many times I've been in conversations with people who are like, I just got on the planogram with Wegmans. And then all of a sudden the arrogance comes through and the whole demeanor changes. I've been in meetings where somebody got that call and then just became the most arrogant, cocky person in the world in the moment. And you literally, like, I can tell that you will be successful in here because what you said there is crucial. You said, and not letting it bother you or anything like that. That is the number one thing. You didn't present the fact that you had to call 72 times to Wegmans as an inconvenience, but you saw it as a challenge. And that is why I'm like so excited to see that, like, you and meet you, because like that's the future of what we need. It's not people sitting around complaining about how distributors suck and retailers suck. Everybody sucks. We suck. It's the fact is, like, you have to build relationships. So talking about relationships, you know, with your brand and your different aspect, you have all those different ingredients from all those different categories. Now, what people don't realize either is when you're grabbing all those different types of ingredients, you're adding multiple vendors, you're adding multiple raw materials, you're adding multiple touch points, thus more confusion. Walk me through how your strategy of maintaining those relationships while also doing the transactions and the flow from your supply chain.
Ooh, that's a good question. No one's ever asked me that. So again, I think that COVID really helped with that, even though, you know, we were just figuring it out. And I wouldn't say that it's not even close to where it was today, but that was a learning lesson every day, building those relationships. And I loved, you know, this one herb company, and they were based in California, and I loved their practices, and everything was triple tested and organic farming. But they were also small, and it's like, hey, we don't have this. Or, you know, yesterday I was giggling because I got an email back because we had to change some of our recipes, and our new co-packer wants us to try using some like the actual flowers instead of the powder. Anyways, just another thing. But it was, you know, I'm emailing her about the different herbs, and she's like, ooh, I can't find anyone in production. They're out of the office. I'm like, it's been 4 days. What do you mean all of production's out of the office? But, you know, I also have backups and working those relationships and visiting local farms. So, and you never know how one person, you know, I ordered from a new supplier in Ohio for trays and didn't make it to me. We're not going to have trays for production, but I had a relationship with a guy in Richmond, and I was like, hey, do you have any like extra that I can, you know, borrow and then replace once I get this? And he was like, sure, I will drive it down to you from Richmond. It's a 2-hour drive. Like, those are the relationships that matter, because, you know, I would do the same thing for him if he needed something.
And that's the difference, is when you get into certain volumes of scale and certain personalities. And that's, I try to tell people a lot of times, they say, oh, well, when you make a lot of money, you can't be a good person, or you can't look out for other people. And I think that's a different mentality. It's all comes down to like the mentality of the person. It doesn't matter what kind of money's in the bank or what time. I've had places where, I mean, I can remember, like, even in the beginning, back in, I remember like Jack's Hard Cider, which doesn't exist now, but they had a you know, a situation like that. And I remember the owner jumping in the back of a pickup truck and loading 2 pallets of cider cans down and driving them 2 hours down to my warehouse because somebody else forgot to do it and we needed to get it out. And it was a favor. And, you know, it's one of those things where that's the thing about this industry, that food and beverage and that other industries as well, that there is such a cutthroat competitiveness. But when you can find there are people, when you cut through all the bullshit and the filter out all the arrogant assholes, there is such an amazing community of people that are willing to work with each other. And I think that it's one of those things where one thing about this podcast is the voices of the assholes have been a little louder for too long. And I think that that's what this podcast I'm intending on it to be. Is I put a quote up the other day that was the days of selling why should I buy from you is now why should I buy your product is actually now why should I buy from you. And today now is the best time to ever be in business, because all you just have to do is not be an asshole.
100%. And I think that speaks volumes to looking at, you know, Seth Goldman, who founded Honest Tea and now Just Iced Tea. Like, he is a great example of someone that I think has integrity, and just like, I look up to him as a founder.
I gotta pause for a second. Are you in my calendar?
No, why? Are you talking to him?
He's my 10 a.m.
Yes.
I'm not even joking. That just gave me chills that you just used him as a reference. Yeah, he's my 10 a.m. Yeah.
Well, he is, you know, just
he's going on. Yeah, he's coming on the episode. So we're definitely talking about this.
he's incredible. Like, and you know, the way that I heard him talk at BevNet in December in LA, and I was like, wow, like, that is, you know, I want to be like that. The way that he presents himself and treats people, and just the thought behind everything that he does with his businesses. And you just don't really see that as much anymore. But I will say, in the beverage space, it is a great community. And when I first started, you know, making friends at gosh, it was BevNet, like 2019. And those people are still mentors, and the community, like Cloudwater, the CEO, I'll text him and be like, hey, what are you paying for cans? Like, are you profitable yet? Are we ever going to be profitable? And then I'm messaging, Pauline with Mocktail Club. And I'm like, hey, what are you paying for cans? Like, who are you using? And it's just been a great community where people share their resources. They have been super helpful. Even hopped on a call yesterday with the Wild Bay kombucha guy. He's based in Maryland. And literally he's like
on next week, I think. Yeah.
incredible. And he's, we're sending each other our pitch decks and our pitch. And he was like, if you have any good contacts for me, and vice versa. So we're literally like funneling investors to each other. Like, it's such a cool community.
That's it. And this is where when I got started in it, especially in the craft beer part in 2004 all the way through 2010, it was a lot of this, because nobody had gotten too big for the britches at that time, and everybody needed each other. And then over time, over 20 years, everybody started getting big for the britches and everything else, and the industry did what it did. But I think that there's such a great resurgence from people like you that are going to bring that back, and people like everybody else, like who's been on here, like Rebecca with Blind Tiger cocktails, and Rudy and I over Parch cocktails, and like all these amazing people, and especially like Rudy and they came from Diageo, they came from the corporate world, and it's just like they're just sick of it. And I think that like they agree. And like you said about BevNet, we missed each other. I was at the last one I went to was 2018 in San Diego, so I was there the year before. But that's those conferences and all those things, I think are such an incredible piece for you to physically meet people. And then being in the world of how everybody's embraced remoteness, I think that just accelerated the efficiency of these conversations and meeting people. Like I am a very visceral person, and I'm still can't get past the fact that you just brought up him, and I'm really talking about that in about 90 minutes with him about how you just came up organically. Yeah.
Well, people that are good people we talk about.
Yeah, that's exactly it. What talk about a little bit about when you chose, like kind of your reasoning to choosing back to choosing the health and wellness functional beverage part, your directive in it, and your kind of mission on the other end of it. What are kind of the goals that allow you to stay in that industry from a mission standpoint, products aside? Where do you see your product kind of sitting in a lifestyle type setting? So where would your product be, and who is your target person when they're for your marketing and anything like that? Like, who do you think will have the most enjoyment with your product?
It's a great question. I'll sidebar start it with, back to the mission to improving mental and physical health through mindful hydration. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and an example of target audience or things that we love to support. So we're working with the Chaz Foundation, which is local, and doing a Dine for the Mind and gathering of people in health and wellness, really focused on how do we provide resources to this community to help with the suicide rates and anxiety and depression. And that's what this nonprofit is all about. So that's what we're doing on Thursday. And we do a lot of stuff like that. So anyone experiencing anxiety, that's going to be a target consumer. So like supplement subscribers looking for holistic solutions. Health conscious moms definitely just get it. And they're going to buy a couple cans every week off the shelf at Whole Foods. And then young professionals. So that's an interesting one. It's a lot of men that are on their lunch break at a sandwich shop. They're going to grab the Elevate or the Energize because it's a cleaner option and a little bit less caffeine. So yeah, health conscious moms, supplement subscribers, young professionals, and then anyone that likes sparkling water, really. But
Perfect.
that's also tough because we're just not just a sparkling water, but so many people see it as like, well, why am I going to pay $2.99 a can for, I could just get a LaCroix. And I'm like, well, it's like a LaCroix, but with 1,500 milligrams of herbs for your brain and body.
And that's exactly it. It's like, what's the point? You're going to have the same great taste that you would with the other thing, but a whole bunch of extra benefits. Do you get people that, I know in our area, we have I'm in York, Pennsylvania, outside of Baltimore, between Baltimore and Philadelphia area. And in this area, and I know a lot of areas across the country, and I work in the cannabis space as well. Recently here in a couple counties have banned D9 and the D10s and all the D8s or whatever. And one of the things is that with that perception, it like labeled everything with hemp as being horrible. Have you had any of that when you're going to sell into retail, that ignorant, like not understanding what it is that you're putting into the product? Or is that still exist? I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I was actually, questioning life at the end of this year. So 3 of our SKUs are herbal, 3 have CBD, and the laws changed in July in Virginia. Same thing related to Delta 8 and Delta 9. But we, every person that carries it has to fill out this form. And then it was like, in the future, you're going to have to pay for this license just to carry it. Your manufacturer has to do it. Distributors have to do it, every account. And I was like, should I just take out CBD? Like, we didn't start as a CBD company. It was just, it fit with some of them and it's a good benefit. And I love CBD. So it was a natural fit. But yeah, it's been tough in the CBD space. Like, I got kicked off QuickBooks, kicked off of Shopify when I first started, Instagram banned you. So it's been, I'm like, ooh, what's it going to be with CBD today? And like, then they were like, oh, your QuickBooks payroll is cut off. Just one thing after another. So I was like, do I just remove CBD? And then I was like, you know what? Nope, not going to. And now I'm actually like, I'm gonna add another 50 milligram CBD one.
Hold your ground, because if there's one thing I've learned in 20 years in the beverage space, and especially going through in Pennsylvania, I was on the back end doing all the research for a couple of clients when the medical marijuana came over, and a couple growers that were looking to start. So they had me do the market and research and everything like that for about 6 to 12 months prior. And one thing I can tell you is nobody knows what they're doing when it comes to building that stuff. And it's like, and it's one of those, it changed every day. I was in Harrisburg all the time, meeting with politicians, lobbyists, and all this stuff to get all that information, take it back to the economic community and say, here's what's going to happen. Start getting your ducks in a row. You need $10 million liquid. You need $2 million, like all this stuff. And all of it didn't mean anything, because the next week it would change again. It would become $8 million. And it's like, it's because this government, they don't understand. Like, $2 million is 2 pennies to them. And it's just one of those things, they don't understand what to go into it. And that's not to get into a government rant, but going into the last week, for example, look at all the scariness that we've gone through, and me, you, everybody. Like, they keep telling me that, oh, you sell cannabis, we're going to come after, we're going to come back for more money. We're going to come back for more money, and they're going to shut down the bank account and whatever else. And I just, like, I don't laugh at it, but it's also humorous, because look at last week. So like last week we're doing all this, and then all of a sudden we're just going to, okay. So how many lives have you ruined? How many people got divorced? How many people lost their house? How many people didn't pursue their dream because they were scared, because you unknowingly put fear into them that you knew was bullshit, and you just want to collect your pyramids. And because you can't figure it out, you just start laying around all the violations because you can't figure it out. You're like, you get into a place where you jeopardize and you penalize us because you can't figure out how to structure something, which is your job. Your job is to regulate. I'm not making an opinion about regulation. I don't think we should have it or what. I'm not making that opinion. One thing is, if you're going to do a job, and whether it's regulated or anything like else, do it right. And don't do it with people's lives. And that's what my number one thing is. And I'm sorry, but I get really upset about it because they don't understand, like, people like you, people like me, we have 5, 10, 1, 2, 3, 1099 employees. A $1,500 hit could be the end of it. And we're working at a gas station pumping. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. I just mean that as our dream is over. And that's the thing, that I am not against government or anything like that, but I am against poor decisions. And I'm one of those people. I've made poor decisions. Like, that's why I feel so passionate about it. But it's like, I until you see how your decisions affect people like us, nobody understands. And I think, I don't mean this as a griping entrepreneur thing. I mean this as people have to realize that, like, these stories these entrepreneurs are telling are real life things. Like, you might sit back and say, oh, I didn't get that commission at that job, or I didn't get, I got stiffed on that hour, I had to stay late, all that stuff. That's all real. Those are real pains. And we have those as well. Just because we run our own businesses doesn't mean we're sitting in the high life of anything by any means. And most of the time, we're not liquid. We're broke as fuck.
Yep, pretty much. My little brother was just on the phone with me before this, and he's like, yeah, it's so interesting. Like, that's really exciting about Wegmans, but man, I mean, it's tough. It's a really long play with owning your own business. Like, because he's talking about his new job and his structure and commission, and it's so exciting. And he's like, and you just have no money.
And that's exactly it. Yeah. It's like, Thursday and Friday are like the best day for a lot of people because direct deposit comes. Ours is every day wondering. It's not an expectation. When is that asshole going to pay that bill that's been sitting there for 30 days or whatever? And I think that's ours is a little different. Yeah, we don't wait on direct deposit. We wait on somebody to actually pay their bill for services rendered. And that could be a 1 month, it could be 6 months, or it could be I've had to go to court to get it before. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. And people sometimes don't like working with me because I'm not the entrepreneur that rolls over. You tell me to go fuck myself on a invoice I sent you on services rendered. I'm just as persistent as I was selling you on that project in the beginning as getting paid.
Amen. Yeah.
So
And just really quick on the CBD side, I mean, a classic example of the laws changing and kind of, in my mind, fear mongering. There's this awesome grocery store in Richmond called Elwood Thompson's, and they pulled all CBD from the shelf, all CBD products, all CBD tinctures, creams. And that's because they were like, oh my gosh, we can't carry CBD anymore. And I was like, no, like read the fine print. Like you're good. You just have to fill out this form. But that was $30,000 a month in revenue for them, and they're still scared to carry it. And makes a huge impact on a small.
There, that's one place. Like that's one family-owned business. That who knows what that means to them? You know what I mean? Like it probably means everything.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that Wegmans pulled or is pulling all CBD from the shelf. And, same thing when I first started, Whole Foods was like, okay, put all of your SKUs in our system. We'll start with the herbals. We're hoping to have approval on the CBD. And it's like, I just, because of the confusion around the laws and things keep changing, I'm wondering what's going to make an impact in the CBD space for proper regulation and so that people can actually do good business, like how do we fix that?
Well, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, and one is, and I'm not going to share it as much as, I will share it, but I'm not going to say I believe in it. But one is that, think about how crazy this is, and whether you're a business owner or not, this is just a logic conversation. All right. So you said how many people are in the United States, 300 million or whatever. We're going to put out a law, but we're actually going to put nothing as far as the instructions of how to do it. Like think of how many things like we get instructed by the government, like we're 5-year-olds. Yet something that involves money and business and livelihoods and things like that, we're just going to send out something without any real directive. So you look at it this way, like we're going to go, oh, okay, hemp is federally legal across the world. Well, then we are across the country. Well, we can consume it, we can distribute it, we can sell it. Blah blah blah. Oh, no, not exactly. But you got to do this. It's just like that's the stuff that is just incredible. And it's like, and then to the fact that our own like regulators can get confused as to what is hemp and what is marijuana. Is the most grounding thing of this whole thing, and makes me laugh at it all, is like we're listening to people direct us on things and they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't even understand. They think sitting around and smoking hemp's going to get you eating Funyuns by 11:30 at night because they watched Reefer Madness when they were children, and it's like, and it's just an unbelievable situation we're in. And where I like to see people like yourself is two things. One is those of us that have lived through the flannel days of the 90s and evolved from Nirvana to Portishead to Radiohead to Fish and Grateful Dead. Those of us that have done this really appreciate and like what you're doing as well, because what you're doing is cutting a path we couldn't do. We countercultured ourselves to the point where we didn't want to be around them. You packaged your product in a way that I think can sit in both. And I want to give you credit to that, because that is the key to where the success is going to be, is finding a way to play in the sandbox with all the brands, but also letting a product like yours, like Crunchy Hydration, be grabbed by someone who wouldn't think of themselves like that. And this is the reason I want to say that, is because it starts with one realization. And you have to overtly tell people that, because some people might go out and say, they might talk shit about crunchy hippies and all this other stuff. But when you look into pull up their pantry, they're doing it. And they're hypocrites. Because what they do is they externally downgrade us and they externally diminish us and discredit us, but they're doing the same thing. And it's the same with everything. But I want to compliment you on what you're doing, because a lot of us went a different way, and we went straight tie-dye, straight Grateful Dead Bears and all this stuff. And like, just that screams weed, it screams marijuana, it does what they want. You've made a different way of doing it. There's other people that have done it too, like Shadi at Malanga and over at Urbana, those guys over there. You guys are doing it the right way, because you're not overtly being hippies. And I mean that in this weird way, that it's a new evolution of the crunchy hippies. It's we have a business. We're not living in tents. We love living in tents. We don't have to. We choose to. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things that, and I think that I want to like leave you with this in this conversation of like, I want you to know that like anytime any day happens where there's shit that's hitting you, realize that like it's happened before and we've all gotten through it. And like, the future is bright, and it's not always millions of dollars, but it's a consistent, sustainable thing when you keep the mentality that you have in this moment. And I say in this moment because I know 3 hours from now, you're an entrepreneur. Something's going to happen. All right. some fire's going to start before lunch happens, and it's okay. And because 10 years from now, it's so awesome because you get to laugh at that because you already know how to fix it. And 20 years from now, it gets even easier. And I think that I want you to keep going, and I want you to stop. And I know that there's going to be money issues, and I know that there's going to be banks that are going to tell you to fuck off. And I know that there's family members that are going to laugh at you, and there's going to be friends that are going to laugh at you. And there's going to be parents maybe that laugh at you. But there's a lot of other people that aren't going to laugh at you. And there's a lot of other people that are in your corner, and they don't know you directly, but they know what you want to do. And they know that we have to do this to start the ripple out. Because if there's ever a time where love is the most important thing to exist, it is over the next few months as well. And I think that products like yours need to bring positivity into the world. People like you are important to bringing positivity in the world. And it's just, I can't speak enough about what's about to happen over the next few months in the world. And this is this type of stuff that needs to exist. With the days of 99% of the things that are produced are trash. Is that what it is?
Yep.
So with you, the thing I love about you and other people like you is you're creating a product that essentially is trash at the end. It's going to be recycled at the end, but you're building something that can have maintain something in the lifestyle and a way that can change somebody's life. And it makes it more than just a product, is what I'm trying to say. And that is power. There is so much power in creating something more than just the product being the vessel to get them to the greater mission. So I want to stress this because I've seen so many people in your position go the wrong way and chase the volume and chase the money. And I want to let you know that, like, if you chase the mission and chase the people, they will support you. It's going to seem a little longer and it's going to seem a little crazy, but they will support you, and they will support you hard. They will support you consistently.
I love that.
You're not going to be a huge crowd. It's not going to be millions, but they're going to make you. You can have a multi-million-dollar business off that crowd. You can be wealthy and successful off that crowd. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. They jump to the corporate route because they're like, "Oh, I went the fast money." Don't. Live your life how you want. Live your life how you want. But I want you to know that, like, based on where you've told me of what gets you, because here's what I mean is, and I'm telling you this from my own experience. If you get in a position, and I've been in this, I've spent 6 months on a bed one time because I just lost it. And I failed and just couldn't get up and didn't have a support system around at that time. And I stopped doing something that I'll always regret not continuing. And I want you to know that if there's ever a moment where, for you or anybody like you, that, like, if you need a encouragement or you need like a sounding wall or anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or anybody. I'm not like, I want you guys to keep going. I want to see you guys 2035. I want to be having one of those crunchy hydrations with you. You know what I mean? Like, in whatever variation it ends up being at that point, because at the end of the day, that's the other thing. It's just, the product is just the vessel to the greater good. So the product can be whatever you want it to be. So don't also get stuck in the ways that it is, you know, like you said, have 50 different SKUs, go for it. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the future
holds. Will hate you, but I love it.
Who knows what the future holds? And that's what's so cool about owning a small business and not being a Coke or Pepsi. You can shift and adapt, and, it is a tough road, but, we're doing it for a greater purpose. And even if I just change one life today, I had someone message us on Instagram saying, "Thank you so much. Like, would not be okay without what you guys are providing. Like, you have drastically changed my mental health through your products. You've changed my daughter. She has extreme ADHD and anxiety and depression, and it's helped her." And it's just so cool to get, that is what defines success to me. It's not how many stores I'm in. It's like, have I made someone's life better?
That's what this is all about. And I think that's what I'm trying to bring forward with this podcast, is people to realize it's about the people that make it, but it's also about the people that consume it, and how it can change their life too. Because while, it's about us, and it's about you, and it's about me, and it's about everybody else that's trying to build these businesses, but it's, at the end of the day, we're not just trying to take $3.49 from them or $4, and we're trying to make a difference in their life. And yeah, it costs us money to make it, and we have to survive on it. But there is a bigger picture there. Walk me a little bit in, like, go even further to Thailand, and don't take me to Thailand yet. Take me to the airport and take me to the boarding dock or whatever you want, boarding gate. All right. You're sitting there. None of this has been realized. None of this has been happened. Do you remember what your feelings were at that moment?
I'm just going to pause really quick and say, did you get my dog literally shitting while you were talking about shit and my puppy shitting on the carpet? I hope that's on video. I tried.
I don't think so, but I love it.
You're like, there's going to be shit that's probably going to happen in 3 hours or tomorrow. And I'm like, there's literal shit.
This is why I do
this. Couldn't have been more perfect.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So anyways, yeah, it's a constant shit storm as an entrepreneur, literally. So thinking back to, gosh, so it's funny that you asked the details of, and I don't know if it's since starting a business, but my ability to remember the past. I just started therapy last week because I was like, what is wrong with
therapy? That's why I'm just now realizing it's your therapist. You should thank them. Yeah.
Started therapy last week and I was like, why can't I remember the details? And he was like, well, that's part of, on the Myers-Briggs, when maybe you're an IE and you're an entrepreneur and creative and you just think about exciting things in the future and you're not dwelling on the past. And so it really is hard for me to think back to that moment other than excitement for the unknown. I remember that, like, kind of butterflies of like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that I'm doing something for me and something that, my parents were like, we'll pay you whatever not to go. Because at that time, the king who had been ruling forever died and his crazy son took over. And it was definitely like a sketch time to go abroad. And I was like, I have to do this. This is what I'm going to do. I think about that with everything I do in life. It's like, why are you doing it? And, listening to your gut. And it's so easy to not, be still enough to hear what you're supposed to do, or even just hear your own thoughts. Like this sounds like a psycho, but I started driving in silence, like no music, nothing. Just
no, we do it. We all do it. You're good. You're in good company, man. That's my brain. You're good. Don't, you're not a psycho at all. You're doing what you need to do. You're processing.
Yeah. And it's like, it's so good to do that. I love it. Just sitting there in stillness and there's so much in life, from the dings and the Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, and you got to check this platform. And did you get on Slack today? No, gosh, I didn't even download the app on my computer. And just finding moments to be still.
It's I call it my serenity drive. I have a loop around my house that I drive. It's like a bunch of farmlands and all this other stuff. And it's like, it's a 90-minute loop. And I do that when I need to get my brain going. And I'll film myself sometimes because I'll extemporaneously just like come up with ideas while I'm driving. And then I just speak about them. And then I record it while I'm driving, so it's not distracting. So you are not a psycho by any means. If anything, I'm a psycho for recording my psycho moments.
I love that. I love that you also drive in silence.
I drive in silence, and I have different, it matters. And sometimes when I go out, it's like, okay, I need inspiration. And then I'll like choose certain podcasts. And then sometimes I'm like, no, the inspiration's in me. And then I'll go music. So it's like, I have to assess where I am with it, engaging if I need to learn something or if it's already in me and I need to bring it out. And that is recent. That is a very recent thing from therapy. So I cannot say that I've been doing that for 20 years. And that's what I try to tell people. And I want to say this to you while we have a few minutes, but as I realized I went on a pontificating soapbox. I made a lot of mistakes, and I would love to have a conversation with you about all the mistakes I made, and that where you would see the passion and emotion on where I was saying to you what I said. I do not mean to get on a soapbox as somebody that's been successful by any means. I made a lot of failures. I actually have on my LinkedIn, I think it's like 20 or so businesses I started and failed. You know what I mean? Like, this business has always been there, but I've also had lots of other ones that I started. And this is the one that's always existed since 2008. And it's just, that's kind of spoken to me after 20 some years that this might be what I should lean into. And my life has been a lot of distractions. So don't ever feel guilty for being distracted. Don't ever feel guilty for being overwhelmed. You are not a psycho for driving alone. If anything, you are a highly attuned individual with yourself, because you realize that you have to change the physical emotion or the physical environment in order to focus. And that is a top level self-awareness that you should be proud of.
Thank you. She's not a psycho.
That box. She's like, if anything, the guy recording his moments is.
I know it's coming to an end, but one question for you. What's your go-to podcast for inspiration?
My go-to podcast for inspiration, I'm going to give a nice shout out, because I actually do talk to this guy, and he started out as inspiration. I reached out to him, and like a lot of things, he freaking got back to me and hopped on a Zoom with me. But his name's Darren Lee. He is it was on YouTube and a few other places. I also watch and listen to My First Million. I don't know if you ever heard that one before. And then I also mix it up a little bit, and I put a lot of comedy in my life. So I do.
Yes.
I love Theo Von, Shane Gillis, all those guys. They are kind of what we're talking about. They're the future of shooting from the gut, unscripted, no, and like just really just high intelligence, but high intelligence being personified in not a high intelligent way. And I think that's the juxtaposition that I like that they present. Bert Kreischer, I just went to his show a while back, and anyway, long story short is it's a mix up. I balance it out. I'll actually send you a list of them, because I have I can't think of all of them, but it's like in my feed, they just kind of run through, and then I just go by topics now that I like. So yeah, there's probably 20 or 30.
Send me that list.
Yeah, it's I'll send you that in my books and I'll send you everything. It's like, and I'll tell you what works and what doesn't and what I think. It's just I'm really excited to meet you. I get very excited about people that are very like-minded and can really speak from the gut. And I think that's something that's why I created this podcast in a non-scripted, non-sanctioned or whatever manner, was because I wanted people that could sit down and just speak honestly and not look at a cue card or not have to look at a notes that they wrote, preparation for it. I'll remind everybody that was just listening to this. We just met 57 minutes ago. So we've never shaken hands. We've never hugged. We've never sneezed in each other's presence. And it's one of those things that if you felt the laughter and everything like that, it was real, and it will be real, because Megan's not going to get rid of me now. So I'm in her corner. So if there's ever anything I can do for you, Megan, please don't hesitate to let me know, and I will reach out to you afterwards to set up a discovery meeting to talk about some things on a professional level. But my last question for you is, going back to, you got like a minute, I guess 60 seconds here there. When you're in high school, is this where you thought about? Were you an entrepreneur thinking in high school, or did it really all come in Thailand and everything like that? Or was there anything in the back of your mind at any point in your life?
No, I would say I did not think in high school that I was going to be an entrepreneur, and even being scrappy and creative with my first job out of college, did not think I was going to be an entrepreneur. It just kind of happened. And that's how I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because I would say it's out of my comfort zone. I know a lot of people that were like entrepreneurial, reselling, tickets, starting businesses in elementary school and high school and college. And that was not me. I was number 2 in my class at high school, and just, started a bunch of clubs and doing all the things, but I wouldn't say entrepreneurial. So it's out of my comfort zone, but I love doing it. And it has pushed me to my edge sometimes, but in the best way, where I'm, now I shifted that we've raised capital and we have a team, but I'm being a CEO 14 hours a day behind the computer. And I had to be like, but this isn't really resonating with me. And so I told my team, I was like, I don't want to be behind the computer all day. How can we, change this up? So anyways, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's a constant challenge, but I freaking love it. And it's just all about communication and being honest with yourself. Like, even if you're supposed to be the CEO, but maybe you're not enjoying certain aspects of that, and it's not playing to your strengths, saying that and bringing other people in and helping the business grow in other ways.
That's awesome, Megan. No, seriously. And thank you so much for taking the time today. And thank you so much for taking the chance. That's something I don't credit enough people for. It's not a lot of podcasts. It's a lot of prep. It's a lot of everything. And it's very nerve wracking to just go on record button with somebody you never met before. And I appreciate you taking the chance, taking the jump and telling your story. I think everybody needs to get out there. Crunchy Hydration. Tell everybody your website, your social handles, how to reach you, and then where to find you online, in stores, wherever else.
Yeah, so it's crunchyhydration.com. And if you go to our locations page, you can put in your zip code, see which store is near you. You can also order online. And then our Instagram, Facebook is at Crunchy Hydration.
Awesome, Megan. Hey, thank you so much. Enjoy your day. And
Woo!
Hey everybody, Nate here. I want to thank you for taking your time today on this episode and remind you to like and subscribe. All right, we do not have a fee or anything like that to listen to our episodes. We just ask for your support. So hop on, like and subscribe, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, the FreeMind Podcast, the FreeMind Pod. Feel free to Google it, look it up, and just check us out. Also, if you know anybody that has a great story or you yourself has a great story, hop on our website, thefreemindpodcast.com, scroll down to the bottom, connect us, and submit your information or the person you think would be a great guest on this show. Hey, thanks everybody. You have a great day.